might mute everybody, I believe. That's how we function. And then you'll unmute if you need to ask a question. Some people are worried about, stepping in, stepping out. It's totally okay for you to leave the meeting when you need to. What's nice about this session, there's, sometimes you hear like when you're doing a teleconference, so Pam has left the meeting. There's none of that. You just, quietly step away. So we'll do that. Carrie, has Michelle stepped in yet? I see you, Michelle. I just don't know.
I saw her at
good.
one point, but yeah, then I saw Michelle left, but then I don't know if it was her. I know she's up and working because she's posting stuff on our SeeSaw and Facebook as we speak. So she must be around somewhere.
There you go. Awesome. Carrie, you can keep your video on, and so can she and Michelle, our presenters. So that will work. So we'll just ask other people that are not presenting today if they could turn their videos off for that. We're 5 minutes away from getting started. Just so we have people that are joining in. Oh, we hit 100. That's exciting.
Wow.
I know. Lots of people looking to connect. So this is the new 2 session for SeeSaw. Our intent is to go slowly through SeeSaw because this may be a platform that people are considering joining to get with their students. So we are going to intentionally go slow with that. If this is not the spot for you, we are not offended if you move on to something else later in the day, because when we designed the sessions, we were looking to have sessions that were supporting people at where they are with the technology. So I'm going to share my screen here now. We have a few people that still have their video on. We'll ask you to turn your video off. Just it helps with the recording of the session. So full disclosure, I have 3 devices on the go already today: computer, phone, and iPad. So when we're talking about how things are going, one thing I'm very happy about is having access to technology and lots of different tools. And then the other end, I'm like, there's too many tools and there's too much. So I'm sure everybody's finding their place there. So Carrie, what are you working on today? You have an iPad or a computer today? What did you opt for?
I'm using my phone to meet, and I've got an iPad to support and follow along and to do things on if I need to remember how to do something if I'm explaining it.
There you go.
I'm a very do-oriented person. I need to do stuff while I explain stuff.
Exactly. We're 2 minutes away from starting. So hopefully everybody can see a green screen in front. My team, I don't have quick access to the chat, so if you could monitor the chat, just so if we have anything that's coming up, and Rod will help us with that as well. I'm still looking for our friend Michelle. Did she appear yet?
How can you type into that?
There's a message from somebody that says they have a friend that can't get in.
Okay.
Oh, it looks like Sheila. It looks like Sheila's helping her.
Okay.
No, I think one of the issues we're having, this room is supposed to have a maximum capacity of 1,000, but it seems to be frozen at 100. So could you, if you know of people trying to get in, alert them that we're trying to get that worked out, but they may have to catch the recording of this session, unfortunately.
Okay.
Zoom has been really popular the last little bit, and it's very tough getting through to their assistants. So I'll do my best.
Okay. So we have elementary program team members. Maybe that's something they could tweet out so they can share that. Spread the word. And I wonder if one of the people that can't get in is our Michelle.
Oh,
I have
I
a friend
don't-
who's trying to get in as well,
Yeah.
and she said that the thing is saying it's maxed out at 100.
Okay. Things we learn. We get to go first, so we get to have all. Oh, Michelle's in! Yay! I just get a text from her. So that's good. Do you want to?
okay, good.
Yay! We're happy Michelle is here. So yes, we're a new to group, and we're going first in this series of professional learning pieces. There are next 3 days. Oh, Michelle is not in. Does that happen?
Did she message you?
Yeah, she messaged me and she said, the session has reached 100 people and I'm able to get in. She can't get in. Oh no.
Well, and somebody left, so she could get in,
Yeah.
but
Is
then
it-
somebody else jumped in.
Okay.
So
Unfortunately, we'll just have to keep going because it is 9 o'clock. So maybe Rod
oh
can
no,
look
she's
after
here.
that.
She's there again.
Yay! There we go. Very good. Welcome, Michelle. You win the Perseverance Award right off the bat today.
Oh, I was nervous.
We'll give you've got a few minutes because Sheila and I are going to talk at the start. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming to our new to SeeSaw Part A session. And before we get started, we would like to talk about our traditional territorial acknowledgement. So we'd like to do this acknowledgement, and this is something that I think education has really taken the lead on this. So I'm very proud to be able to read this today and help share this message. We acknowledge that the land in which we are gathered is part of the traditional territory of the Chippewa, Odawa, Potawatomi, and Delaware nations. Our school board is very unique in having 5 nations be able to have students come to our district, and so we want to make sure that we are including all today. And so SeeSaw is a great device to help us to include all. Hi, Michelle. Your mic is muted there, so if you want to say hello, you can step in.
Good
So
morning.
here are our hosts today. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Sheila Richardson. I'm one of the special education coordinators with the board, and I really look forward to being here with you today and learning alongside of you.
Hi. Okay. Good morning. I'm Carrie Miller. I'm one of the FDK teachers at Errol Road School, and I'm looking forward to helping anybody who needs it to get onto SeeSaw and start using it to help their students from home.
Good morning. I'm Michelle Henderson. I'm an ECE at Errol Road. I've been Carrie Miller's partner for the past years, and I'm just hoping I can help out today.
Awesome. And I'm Pam Gallant, and a member of the elementary program team. And the reason why I'm with this group is that I'm also the SeeSaw for Schools administrator for our board. So any questions about sign in and that sort of thing, I'm the person. So, and also I think it's a great tool to help us get connected with students. So before we get into SeeSaw, we want all sessions today are starting talking about 6 remote learning guidelines. So our superintendents and directors have shared this information with us that as we think about the learning that we're offering our students now we know it's going to be at least a month plus. What are some guidelines that we can make sure that we're all being supporting of students and we can reflect on what we're sharing with students. So here are the 6, and so Sheila and I are going to go through each of them just to kind of give you a little definition of each one of those. So I can't remember who
The
starts.
first is asynchronous learning. We know that home learning doesn't nor can it look the same as it does within our classrooms every day. So therefore, we cannot expect or plan that learning in our homes is going to look like the typical 9 to 3 school day. So instead, we need to look at learning opportunities that students and families can complete in a very flexible manner at times throughout the day that are going to work for them.
Another one of the guidelines is PACE. So we all know in our classroom, our students complete and experience learning on their own pace. And so this is really actually something we had to pay a lot of attention to when we were talking about remote learning, is that it may take our students 2 or 3 times more time to complete an assignment at home, and even more for others. We know we've got students with exceptionalities, so just thinking about that. So creating the experiences that where students can complete things at their own pace. And our province has come through some guidelines. So if we think about our earliest users, learners for kindergarten to grade 3, 5 hours a week that we're looking at for learning time for them. So just be thinking about, as we get into the creating of activities, the pace we assign those pieces.
So the next thing to consider is to prioritize. So start to think about what are the big ideas that you want your students to know or be able to do. Less is really often more. Target those learning opportunities that are most needed at this point for your group of students at this time.
Availability. So this is talking about you as the instructional leader for your group of students. With online learning, we can know that it can be done all the time. So one of the recommendations you might consider is setting up some office hours for yourself. So be thinking about having, say from 9:30 to 10:30, that might be the time that you're live and like available online for students to check in with you. And that could be through a platform of your choice, Google Meet, SeeSaw, email, or even a phone conversation, so that it's not consuming your life as well, because we want to make sure everyone's well-being is impacted. And many of you are moms and dads trying to manage the home learning for students, your own children. So we're just suggesting that you think about how available are you as we go through each day.
And the next thing is that the work that you're doing has to be intentional. There are many amazing resources out there. And sometimes it can be hard not to get bogged down and want to access all of those resources. But really consider what are the big ideas that still need to be addressed for your class at this point and this school year. And then which activities and resources will best target those big ideas and will meet the learning of your group of students at this time.
And then finally, basically why we're starting with new to SeeSaw group today is that we want to make sure that you're dealing with tools that are familiar to you and what your students are familiar with. So as a district, LKDSB has focused on supporting the learning around SeeSaw because we have the SeeSaw for Schools capability. And then there are also sessions going on about Google Suite. So everything from Google Classroom to Google Drive, all of those pieces. So those are the focus of the system that we'll be delivering technical support on for a platform and how do you connect with students. And we are going to enter into those new tools slowly. So we don't want to add tension to your day and your learning. We're going to make sure that the learning is available to you. Okay, so those are, in summary, those are the 6. So if we think about our own practice with our students, this might be a good reflection point to you. Like, so why didn't that go well today? And you realize, well, I might ask people to do too much. The pace was too much, or I threw something that was unfamiliar too soon. So we'll be touching these over the next few days about how SeeSaw can support this remote learning guidelines. I'm going to pause. If there's any questions, you might pose them in the chat. for now, and my partners maybe can help monitor that. Anything popping up there for questions?
There are no questions.
And just to maybe make sure, if you are not already aware, there is a chat feature. So if you look, typically it's at the bottom of your screen, something that says chat. It will bring up a white box on the side of your screen, and you can type messages. We do have a question from Denise. Is SeeSaw primary and Google School for junior?
That's an excellent question. In our districts, I would say a lot of SeeSaw users began as primary teachers. Our kindergarten teachers love SeeSaw. They were probably the biggest supporters of it early on. And junior and intermediate teachers are coming onto it more and more. I know our math coaches have started to use things like the whiteboard, like when they're in classrooms working alongside teachers. One of the tools is a whiteboard and video tools. So a lot where kids can solve a math problem and then videotape and what their conversation is around that. So there's been a lot of people pick up for junior. I can't really speak to the Google. I think it depends on your students, where they are in their learning, but I know SeeSaw is accessible to all grades. So our biggest growth is within the junior division. So this is just showing what's being offered. So if we are working on getting the participants over 100, we're really sorry that people aren't able to get in, but this is being recorded. So tell your friends they can watch the recording.
Pam?
And then at 12:30 today, yes?
Sorry, there was another question. There was another question from somebody who's currently using Dojo.
Yes.
They said, if they're successfully using Dojo, should they continue with that instead of using a new app?
So that's a good question too. So what the board is going to continue to support teachers on their learning is SeeSaw and Google Classroom. And because like you think about the capacity of the learning teams to be able to share that information. The other reasons why SeeSaw and Google were supported were because Google is within the LKDSB.com domain. So we are able to ensure student privacy. If there's ever an issue with accounts being compromised, it's LKDSB.com that is taking responsibility for that, not the individual student, the teacher. And then also with SeeSaw, because SeeSaw has been moved to be purchased, SeeSaw for Schools was purchased by LKDSB, then we have that same kind of protection in there. So if there's something that happens, LKDSB will take over the support of all that and not the individual teacher. So Dojo is something that teachers will be using on their own. So that's a professional decision that you have to make, you know, protecting student privacy and that sort of thing. I am not suggesting that you throw that away and start something new because we want to make sure kids are being familiar with that. But as far as professional support for your professional learning, it will be about SeeSaw and about Google Classroom. So like if you have a question about SeeSaw and you email me at 10 o'clock tonight, I'll answer and try to help out. Dojo can't really help you. So I would say you keep what's familiar with your students, keep that going, because we know these are times where connection is the most important thing. So if you were interested in the Google platform, those are the sessions that are going on today as well.
So I'm not seeing any other questions. So if we look at this current slide.
I can go back to the Google one, SeeSaw one. Is that what you want? Oh, we lost Sheila, I think.
Oh, and somebody asked
No,
another
I'm
question.
still here. Sorry, I lost you for a bit.
Yeah. So go ahead, Sheila.
No, oh, so like the next question is just about remind, same answer as Dojo. And I would say that's correct, right? Yeah. So if we look here, these two slides are just showing you that we do have 2 learning opportunities that are going on over the next 3 days. Actually 3. So one is in terms of SeeSaw, and the other one is in regard to the Google Suite support. So you'll notice that each section is divided into 3 subcategories. Either you're new to the platform, you're currently using but a relatively new user to the platform, and or you're kind of more of an expert, further extensions. Each of these groups will meet today, tomorrow, and Friday. We're looking at small chunks of learning as we move forward to make it manageable. So you can attend as many or as few as what is going to work for you. If you're here today and you think I've got this and you want to try kind of the middle group of SeeSaw, please feel free to go into that. All of the SeeSaw user groups will go to that same Zoom room that you're in currently. The Google Suite has a different code to get in, and you can see that in front of you. So again, it's not a repeat, each new learning each day based on what it is that you are looking for. At the bottom, you'll see that there's some information about setting up a Google Meets learning opportunity. That is a repeat. That's occurring at 9 a.m. each day. You can see the Zoom code there to get in, and that is, again, a direct repeat. All of these sessions are going to be recorded, and you'll be able to find them on the LKDSB program blog. I don't know if that will be exactly up to date, but we'll get those up as soon as and that way, if life is happening in your home currently and you're missing bits and pieces, you can certainly come back and reference them at any time. And or as you go through on your own learning journey, you want more extensions, you're going to kind of look at some of those other sessions as we go through.
Thank you, Sheila. We'll address those, how you find the sessions at the end of the session too. So we talked a lot about this. So Sheila, you have a question for me.
I do. So here I am at New to SeeSaw. Am I in the right session?
So I would say you're in the right session if you've yet to get a SeeSaw account, or you have a SeeSaw account and you're interested in learning about SeeSaw and sharing it with my students. So some of this may be review. Just think of this as a comfort spot to begin. Full disclosure, we are not making stuff up. We are finding good resources out there. So I would really recommend the SeeSaw Help Center. When you get to this spot, you will see that I put the purple area. When you see this, scroll down and you will see that there's a wealth of knowledge that's available to you for getting information. So here's the website here, and scrolling down, you can see that there's lots of information there. If you have a question, just type in the question in the toolbar and it will help you out. It is a very, very, very good help center, and it's constantly changing and being updated. So I'd highly recommend that. So some of you are probably wondering, well, how does SeeSaw work? So SeeSaw really involves 3 different groups of people: teachers, students, and families. And so obviously we've been learning how to use SeeSaw within the classroom setting. So it is going to take a different lens when we're doing home learning. But I wonder if Carrie and Michelle can share their reflections on how they've been using SeeSaw in their classroom.
Absolutely. So when we were in the classroom, Michelle and I would use SeeSaw mainly to communicate with parents. So we would take pictures of the students while they were learning, and then we would put the type of learning that we were witnessing. Sometimes we would identify the learning. Sometimes we would just share the picture with parents so that it would give us the parents something to talk about to their child with at home that night. So, they could show their child the picture and say, tell me what you were doing here. Kind of got rid of the idea of, what did you do at school today? Nothing. So it gave them a place to start conversation. And we also were using SeeSaw to document our learning. So to help write our report cards later. Sorry. Okay, Michelle, go.
Well, I was going to talk about the announcements. Is that where you want me to do that now?
Yeah, so
So
Yeah, that's good.
in the classroom, we use the announcement section to send out quick notes to parents, like it's hot lunch day, tacky Tuesday, or a picture of 75 mittens that no children recognize as their own. And now that we're at home, we're sending out little simple activity ideas that parents can be using at home to support the child's learning.
right. So in the kindergarten setting, you were using mostly the teachers are documenting and sending it over to families. We'll see like grade 1, 2, and 3, students start to take control of the device to take the pictures, draw, record videos. And that's what they're sharing for 2 teachers and families. So you can start as small with SeeSaw as you would like, or like we have classrooms where the kids are in total charge of creating their own portfolio through artifacts that they capture in their learning. So we'll continue to show you how that can be accessed as we go along.
Pam, we have a couple of questions. Oh,
Okay.
sorry. It looks like it looks like that Sheila's answering them, but
Okay. It's good to read the question and then read the answer if you have it, or share the answer.
so there's.
Do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we have a few people just want in a classroom and or a teaching partner. Do they need to set up their own account? And so I've just said to stay tuned, right? We're going to get to that in just a few minutes, that no, you don't need to have your own account. And the second question that's been popping up is about wanting to do activities. And I said that we may be getting to activities by our day 3, which is Friday, or alternative, looking to activities to consider going into the SeeSaw Part 2 session.
Right. So I'm assuming a lot of our people that are joining us today may be joining SeeSaw at this time because they're a curriculum partner or a prep teacher. And so they're like, I haven't needed to have that connection with students like the homeroom teacher has. So we're going to talk a little bit about being a co-teacher. And that's one of the things that when we talk about SeeSaw for Schools at LKDSB, which is basically the paid version, and it has more options for us to use. And so with that, the add-on of the co-teacher. So when we had the free version, lots of teachers were doing the workaround of like, if I was a curriculum partner with Carrie and Michelle's class, I would create my own SeeSaw class. And so then their 30 kids and my 30 kids would actually be the same 30 kids. When we get into SeeSaw for Schools, I asked to be a co-teacher with Carrie and Michelle. And so that's a function of SeeSaw for Schools. So this is the paid version that we're using. We found teachers who were using the lkdsb.net or lkdsb.com email, and their accounts were migrated over automatically when we paid for the account. So if you had a personal account attached to your email, we just ask you to update that and you'll get into the SeeSaw for Schools at LKDSB. We're asking, there's a Google icon, we're asking you not to log on through that. It just slows the process a little bit, you're a little harder to find. So just use the email to log in on. And from that, we'll select the school from the list. Don't type in your school, because anybody out there from Queenie, there's Queenie Sarnia, there's Queenie Petrolia, there's Queenie Chatham, QES, QEC, QEP, there's lots of different names. So please use the selected from the list. It helps us find people. And SeeSaw is very device friendly, but we ask that when you're setting things up, you go to the website for SeeSaw and do everything from Safari or Chrome, like use the web browser to get going on that. Okay. And once everything's going, you will be notified by email when your account is active. And don't panic, you don't need to be doing that right now to do this session. You can have that done at any time.
So, Pam, I just want to take a minute to follow up on the question about people that are already using SeeSaw the way I described and wanted to know about activities. And I really think they probably want to go to a different session. Not that we don't want them here, but they would probably find, if they're already using it and they already have a class, this is probably not the place
Yeah, it's
for them,
probably
and
too
they'll get
basic
more
for
on.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving on to the other session, for sure. Yeah, but that doesn't, and they can watch the recorded one, session A, if they're tapped out of learning today. So thank you for asking that, and we want to make sure people find the right learning for them at the right time. Hey, and I see our participations are up to 105, so they must have figured out how to do
Yeah,
it.
Pam, can I just jump in for a second?
Yes.
If anybody heard from people that were having difficulty getting into the meeting, we now have room for the 1,000 that we paid for. So if you could send a brief message to folks to let them know the room is now available for them to join, we got a whole bunch more seats. Sorry for that.
Tina from King George and Chatham is asking if it would be easier to have 2 devices to set up as we move forward. If there's somebody who likes to practice on it, I would say, yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yes, and I think that that's great. Like for me, I'm trying to focus on not multitasking. So like, I know Carrie, we talked about this, like she likes to be able to talk and listen and try it as we go along. And I've had to slow myself down and go like, I'm gonna just listen and I'm gonna come back to it later. So recognize you have, you designed the learning for you, but having 2 devices absolutely is an option. So that we had a question about where do you want to get email notifications, and Michelle and Carrie gave us some great reflections on this. So I wonder if you can share your thinking about which email are you using, .com or .net?
Yes. So when you are setting up, if you're one of the people that is setting up SeeSaw for the first time, when you set up your SeeSaw account for the first time, you're going to want to consider which email you use to set it up, because that's where you're going to get the notifications. And so you want to make sure that you're getting the notifications from SeeSaw in the most convenient place for you.
Mm-hmm. So I think for me, if I was going to do that, I would choose to do my LKDSB com for my SeeSaw account to keep it all about student learning, and then because I don't want it to get into my LKDSB.net where I kind of do my business work for like teacher stuff. So I would choose that. But some people, you know, will, like, I'm okay to have it all in one spot where I visit regularly.
All right, Pam, so I have an account. What can I do now?
Okay, so we will consider it a win if people can get in and log in. So if we're new to SeeSaw, how do we go about getting logged in? And so that might be your, our focus over the next day. We're going to check out the home screen. So, yes?
I have a quick question. So I've just switched to watch you on my iPhone, and I'm going back to my iPad to set it up. What is the link we need on the iPad?
Can we type this into the chat box?
My phone is not showing a chat box.
Okay, so I'll tell it what it is. It's 313-562-101. So if you go to Zoom, like the log into Zoom, and then they'll ask for a room code, it's 313-562-101.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still not seeing a chat box.
Yeah, if it's on a phone, I'm not sure really about the function there.
If you're looking for your chat box, you touch the screen.
Yep.
And then you go to more, and then
Okay.
you'll see the chats. And when you touch chat, you'll be able to see.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're going to check out the home screen. So what are all the buttons on the screen? And we're going to talk about settings, because in settings, we're going to visit a bunch of different times. So what are the most important things you need to know now to get set up, and how to add students. So really, this is what you might do if you're just starting out, and this is going to be the focus for the rest of the session today. And you can sit back and watch it happen, or as Carrie probably would be doing if she was new too, she would be trying to follow along with this on her device. So whatever you choose to do. So Sheila, you okay with about that as a to-do list today?
I am. Just trying to keep up with some of the chats here.
Okay. So this is just an image of the home screen, and we are going to focus on 2 areas today. So the wrench up there in this corner, when we actually do some things, we'll do our settings, and we're going to focus on how to add students down in this corner. So that's where we're going to do the work. But before we do that, we're going to see what the actual home screen looks like. And I'm going to actually go live to my test class. And Carrie and Michelle are going to help us describe the piece. So there's my test class. There they are. Okay. So this is what it will look like when you first log in. And you'll notice that your name up here showing. And I actually have 4 classes showing. And that happens because I'm playing around a little bit with the classes. But if you are a curriculum partner, you will probably end up having like 4 or 5 classes, because you're the French teacher for the school, and you'll end up having classes there. Or if you're a classroom teacher, you'll probably just have 1 piece there. If you are looking for account settings but emails, this is that little gear will help you out there. So if I go in here, I can see that my account is set up for me and what my email is connected with that. And if I have to change my password and what school I belong to. So this is where we talk about find your school that you're connected with. Okay, so Carrie and Michelle, there's other buttons on here. What are some things that you spend a lot of time looking at?
So most often we would spend our time in journal and in the inbox. So the journal is where we post our students' work, and where the parents can see only their own child's work. The inbox is where we might receive messages from parents, and the green add button is where we would post to somebody's journal.
Okay, so if looking at the journal, I have no items in my journal right now, and everybody, when you log in, you'll have 1 sample student, and that's kind of a student that you can test things out. So if you wanted to add something in, that student is part of your class regardless if you want them to be there or not. And so you'll be adding things there. And then you mentioned the inbox. So Michelle, is that something that you use a lot?
Yeah, we use the inbox just to send private messages to parents. And it's just to do a quick message back and forth.
Okay. And I think a lot of people are using family announcements too. So if they want to share that, but I see you have to invite families to get these notifications, and that will be how we're starting off session number 2.
Right.
So there's been some questions. Yes.
Can I ask, we've got, this now might be a really great time to show participants, if they are an educational assistant or a co-teacher, how would they be added to the classroom teacher's account?
Okay, so up here in the wrench, we'll click on that, and this is the setting piece. And I'm slowly going to scroll through. See, there's lots of settings that we can turn on and turn off. Not as many as your iPhone, but there's a lot in there. So this class name, for example, was when we signed up, created my class, I would identify the class that went through and the grade level. Now I always taught like a grade 5-6 class. So when I first went into this, I thought, oh, I'll put other because I have an other class. But it's proven to be important to pick a grade that you're assigned to, because it's going to help with other pieces. So those two
Pam,
things.
what if I have, sorry to interrupt, Pam. So if I have a split level class, which grade should I choose? For example, if I have a grade 3-4 class, should I choose grade 3 or should I choose grade 4?
That's totally up to you. It's about eventually how we go about and use the skills later on. So it's about just being proactive about how you're sorting things out. So
I almost
if I was in,
wondered,
class, I would probably go with the higher number of students I have, like, you know, my 25, I would go, I have 20 grade sixes, I would pick grade 6. Carrie?
Well, you could probably make 2 different classes, one for each grade level too.
You could do that too. Again, people will structure this to how to support that. So if I'm taking the lens, I'm a classroom teacher right now, and I want to invite the person that does my social studies into my classroom, I will go to this managed teacher part, and I would invite the teacher that is my curriculum partner. So Sheila was my teacher social studies with my students. I would type in Sheila's address here and invite her to join my class. So I've done that with my teacher already, that my Angela Cote has been added to my class. So what that does is when I have my class level, my class list made, you actually get to be using that class list there. So if you are a curriculum partner teacher, I would suggest that you reach out to someone you know is SeeSaw and say, may I join your classroom as a co-teacher? And they will put your name in there and you will be connected to that class. So you won't have to find all the emails. Yes.
And sorry, I know with the kindergarten class, they couldn't add me as a prep teacher because they already had 2 and they said that was a limit for free SeeSaw.
If you were SeeSaw for just the free version, that was the limit, but with SeeSaw with schools, they can add more now.
Oh, okay. So, okay, perfect. Thanks.
Yeah.
So Pam, now might be another good time. We've still got a few people that are wondering if you could again explain the difference between the LKDSB purchase SeeSaw and the regular SeeSaw account. And again, one more time, how they can get into the purchase SeeSaw account.
Okay. So if you are, so SeeSaw has an interesting past. SeeSaw has, in some boards they're not allowed to use SeeSaw because it's considered a red act and we haven't, like because of protecting student privacy. But so LKDSB recognized that we had so many teachers that were using it. And when we started the conversations, there was over 1 million artifacts from LKDSB students that had been collected. So that was the decision was then made to, instead of questioning the support of SeeSaw, we decided as a district to support SeeSaw by buying the SeeSaw for Schools component. So then that gave every teacher in LKDSB the option to use SeeSaw within their classroom. So in order to do that, you must use an LKDSB email, so lkdsb.net or lkdsb.com. If you have already a SeeSaw and you're using like your Gmail account, just go in and you'll change your email setting, and I'll show you where to do that. So if we're over here in my account settings, if my email was, say, a Gmail account, I would go in there and update that to an LKDSB or lkdsb.com. And when you do that, then I, as the district administrator for that, will get notification of that, and you will say, is Carrie Miller a teacher at Arrow Road School? And I will go and say, yes, she is. She can join SeeSaw for Schools and give you access to that. And then the migration happens over. I've actually had many teachers ask me in the last couple of days, can I get in SeeSaw for Schools? You probably already are if you have an lkdsb.net account or .com account already there. It happens seamlessly, and you just were opened up to more of the functions of SeeSaw. When you enter into SeeSaw, the difference is SeeSaw for Schools is you get access to the skills part, and you get access to the co-teacher piece. You get many more opportunities for the communication. It's just an amped up version for it. And then the part of it is that we're also then you're protected within the LKDSB domain. So we're helping to support that student's privacy and helping support student protection of like online tools is that you're within the LKDSB domain. And we do have some possibilities of students' portfolios being able to travel from year to year. So there's a lot of pluses available to us from that.
Okay, and we do have some other questions coming up.
Yeah. Okay.
before I read it, if people have joined this group, if they mute their mics, then it prevents that echoing from happening. So if you joined us, please mute your mic.
Thank you.
It says from Danielle, I am an LTO as of January. The homeroom teacher added me to her SeeSaw. I used SeeSaw last year at a different school, but I noticed that instead of saying I'm at my new school, it put me at my old school. Will this be an issue?
It won't be. I would say just continue, carry on. We'll, like, as far as the tidying up things, it's low on the priority. You're still going to be able to use SeeSaw. It just will just look different, like from the administrator lens, like who's in the school. I can help manage that, get those things moved over for you. But next week, please. We're dealing with some other things. It's like you can still function and use SeeSaw, not a problem to be in a different school. We can fix that up next week.
And then we have a question from Tina from King George saying, do we ask our homeroom teachers to switch to their .com email and then invite us?
As long as they need to be using lkdsb.net or lkdsb.com, total choice for them. And then just when they go into manage teachers, they will put in the email that you want to use, like that's attached to your account. And then the communication will happen.
And then Mary Lynn says, if you are using the free version, you are not protected, correct? Can you speak to that?
Right. So if you are using the free version of SeeSaw right now, you are not considered to be within the LKDSB domain. And so it's like using, like we have Google Classroom and Google Drive and all those things that are protected within the LKDSB domain. And so if something goes wrong with SeeSaw and you're a SeeSaw for Schools user at LKDSB, SeeSaw and the board are responsible for that, not an individual teacher. But if you are using, if I'm Pam Gallant at gmail.com and something goes wrong with my account, I'm responsible for that. And yesterday, some EPFO information came to us about that and about online learning and guidelines. So I feel very comfortable as an EPFO member saying, like, please move over to lkdsb.com and or .net to use for SeeSaw, and then you will be have much more support around you with that. And the board can support if we, system goes down. We've been in constant contact with SeeSaw. We've got a big hammer saying, like, we need help, and they respond to us. You as an individual may not get as much support if you're that. So we're really recommending every LKDSB teacher take advantage of the SeeSaw for Schools.
So we also have, someone's noticed that you can change your school under one of the settings. I know you mentioned it is okay regardless of the school, but is that something that teachers should be doing?
Absolutely. If you have noticed you're in the wrong school, you can go in and change that. That's not a problem. That's great independence. That's great. But I'm here to help if people feel a little worried about that.
And Pam, we still have a few people, they're still trying to wrap their heads around it. So one more thing,
yes.
I know that this is a hard thing for people to think about. What is the difference between using your .net and your .com? And again, how do we go from the free SeeSaw version to the paid LKDSB account?
So the lkdsb.net or .com is purely choice. So where are you going to get your email notifications? Like, it's just how you do business. So if you're a person that never checks your Gmail, your lkdsb.com email account, like me, I wouldn't put it over there unless I said, oh, I'm going to use that, and then I'll start following all my SeeSaw there. So it's total choice which one you use. And what was the second part of that question? So which account?
Sorry, and on that note, does it matter if you want to add a co-teacher? Does it matter which .com or .net that you're using?
No. It doesn't matter at all.
Okay.
Nope, doesn't matter at all.
I was gonna say, I'm a co-teacher, and Carrie put me under my .net because that's where I wanted my notifications to go to.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification. And the second part was, so for those participants who have the free SeeSaw version, how do we get to the LKDSB version? And also, again, one more time, how do we log into the LKDSB version? Do we need to do that through the LKDSB site, or is there somewhere else to go through and get there?
Okay, so people have been logging on, I'm assuming, during this session. So Kate Gillespie, is she out there? I wonder if she's one of our sessions. Because I've just got an email saying that Kate Gillespie requests access to SeeSaw at LKDSB. So when you do that, I'm getting the automatic notification. So it's all working like magic. So I've got a whole list of new people that asked me this morning. So you're doing the right thing. We'll find you. If you're wondering what's happening, you can email me personally after the session too. SeeSaw has been fantastic about getting technical support with that, so we haven't lost any yet.
Oh,
So
Pam,
I'm looking at her. Yes.
it's 9:45, so I
Yeah.
just wanted to keep an eye on the time.
Absolutely. I was just
Okay.
thinking the same thing. So
Okay.
we'll save your questions up, put them in the chat. We'll address them in session 2 as well. These are fantastic questions, people, though. I'm really happy for getting this. So we were here. So I'm just going to click one more time for this. So we were talking about the session. So really we talked about the journal, and the wrench is going to be your friend for pieces. This is what will happen with your SeeSaw once you get up and running. And we are going to go into detail on all these little pieces and little tricks and things to go along. But probably we should just summarize what, if you're thinking about homework, where you should be today is make sure your class name is what you like it to be.
Can you answer that, please?
Yeah, think about a grade level that you're assigning. So pick one grade level. So that will help you as we develop into the skills parts. And then lastly, the managed teachers, that instead of having to create your own class, like for 5 different prep classes that you have, see if you can get into being a co-teacher for the classroom. And just a note, when you are a co-teacher, there's definitely, you're sharing students, but you're not sharing activities and communication pieces. Things end up being quite separate. So we'll continue to work on that as we go forward in sessions about how co-teachers things look. Okay. And so again, just a summary where we've been, that's what that screen looks like. So we're now going to go on to, maybe you're ready now to add some students. And so one of the places to do that will be at the bottom of the screen with the plus add students. I'll go back to my class. So just thinking about student safety, all my children in my classes are made up. They're all family members. My dad is 80, so got his name there. So I've added a couple of students already, and none of them have any artifacts in their journal yet. So we'll see that grow over sessions. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to click to add a student. And so there's some information here and how it all happens. It will look different than if it would have been if we were in the classroom. So we're going to go down, since we're at home, we're going to go down to the bottom of the screen to put an add student click button here. Okay, so I've got some students in my class already, sample student for everybody. I've added a couple yesterday and the day before. So now I'm going to add somebody new. And this is one of the things that you'll notice that's different for SeeSaw for Schools, is that they're asking for a student ID number. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. So I've made up numbers. So I've got my 001, 002, 003, just for my class. If we look forward into the future, this may be something that we use the student's school ID number. So that will be when Carrie and Michelle's students leave their class and go to my grade 1 class, we can transfer their portfolio over. So, but that's something in the future. So right now I'm just going to put in a made up number, 6, look up student, and it's going to say ID not found. What is the name of that new student? So I'm going to go with David, my brother-in-law today, and I'm going to create a student. Create the student, and there he is. You will continue to do that for the 20 to 30 students that you have in your class. So Carrie and Michelle, did you have any other questions about that or insight into that as I create another student?
Well, if you, I don't even, so in our classroom where you see there's icons or there's DA for David, you can also go in and if you have your students' pictures already saved in your iPad, because that's where you're adding them, then you can change the icon so it's their face, which makes it easier to identify once you are, once you're working with them on a daily basis.
Right. So there's lots of different functions there. Okay, that's good. And if you have a class already and you have a new student join you, you can add them at any time. So this is always going to be available for you. So that's down here at the bottom for adding students. And you will up in the wrench, you can add students as well. So manage students. So if you have a student that leaves your class, you can add them. So you can enter things from here too. So very simple. I would recommend though, like if you've got 2 Maxes or 3 Jadens, so that sort of thing, make sure that you have some kind of indicator that goes along with that. So your idea of pictures is really helpful. I'm sure, Michelle, when you have 30 kids in the classroom, kindergarten classroom buzzing around you, what do you look at? Pictures or do you look at names?
I always look at pictures.
Can you say that again?
I said I always look at their pictures.
You did have your husband
Yeah.
connected us.
Someone wanted to know, someone said that they've been using SeeSaw all year already, but they've had parents who chose not to access it, and they're wondering how do they invite them again? Is that just like the case with them?
Yeah, so tomorrow we're going to be looking at, be mindful of our time. We're going to be looking at communicating with families with that. So if you're thinking about who that is, the key thing you're going to need is an email address. So I'll come back to that slide. So for tomorrow, we're going to connect with families. So your tasks that maybe you can look at is gathering family emails for that. And you can add them at any time. And you may find too that you have children that you've been communicating with one family all year. And well, one family member all year, but now in this time they're spending time between 2 households that you want to add a second communication name to that. You can add up to, I believe, 10 emails per kid. So there's lots of contacts with that. So as we're coming close to the end, I know Sheila, you're one that likes to research things, right? And revisit things.
I sure do. So there's been excellent questions. We're trying to answer some of them as we go. And there are many that I know people will still have as we go on. So again, there's that help center, right? That I think many people should kind of go and take another look at, try and get your account set up for today as we move forward.
Right, and this, I just want to highlight something we found within the Help Center are the Getting Started guides. And so if you're like a person that jumps in and it's like, oh, mess around and click things, it doesn't matter, then you're going to be fine. You weren't not going to break SeeSaw. Try things with a sample student. But some of us like to read things over and peruse them. So this Getting Started guides are great resources. And what's nice about them is you can select your grade that you focus on. So it kind of gives an indicator what your kids are ready for. So if I think about this grade 5 Getting Started kit, there's lots of overlap between the booklets, but they're just a PDF. And you can read through so much of the content we talked about today, how it works, and then a checklist of things to work on. And then this is just, we're going to be stealing some of these ideas as we move forward in our sessions. So how do we use that green button? How do we take a picture? That sort of piece. So that's an excellent resource I would recommend.
Pam, can I address a question here?
Yes.
Sorry, I've got to find it again. Somebody asked, Stephanie asked about students with privacy concerns and no picture request and how SeeSaw would look for them. And I just wanted to say that only the family sees the pictures. So within SeeSaw, there is no sharing unless you have yourself taken a picture of more than one student and put it in more than one journal, which you would avoid with that student.
Right.
And I do know of a colleague who had a family who refused to use it, and she just expressed to them, this is the way I'm going to communicate. You're going to miss out because you're going to miss out. She said, I'll make an effort to also communicate with you other ways, but you're not going to get everything because this is the way I've chosen. And she left it at that. But you would still be able to use that student to document learning.
Absolutely.
It's just their parents wouldn't see it.
Right. So when we get into talking about creating artifacts to put in students' journal, like we can make a lot of good decisions as teachers about like taking pictures of the work, not necessarily the picture of the face of the child. So that would help with that privacy concern for sure. Another action is if Carrie and Michelle and I were working together playing in the house center and we're, doing quarantine tests as people come by at the, oh, that's so great, such a great learning story to share in the from the classroom, then I wouldn't share, like there's 3 children in that picture. That is not a good picture to put into each of those journals. I would make sure I have a picture for Carrie and a picture for Michelle so that we don't have, we're not overlapping there. So we can make some actions to protect student privacy to go along with that. And I'll keep talking about student privacy as we move forward. So just so if you're interested in joining us tomorrow, this is our focus that we're going to go. We will have more time just to focus on SeeSaw. We won't have the introductory piece to deal with today, like we did today. But we're going to talk about how to connect with families. So your action is to figure out how to get family emails if you are the homeroom teacher and require that. If you're using something like Remind already, one of the ways people might do is to say, hey, can you email me at this address, and use your lkdsb.net email or .com email, and parents can respond to you through that, and you will collect those emails. I believe principals are working on gathering emails from the school system. So if we could task people with that. And then once we get those things connected, tomorrow's task was how do you make an announcement? And we'll start getting, if we're ready for it, we'll start looking at the tools and how do we use those to create some artifacts. And that will be happening at 9 o'clock tomorrow, Thursday, April the 2nd. I lost where I wanted to be. There we go. Oh, how come that's happening? There we go. So if you're wondering where to find all of this information, if you're familiar with our elementary program blog, you will find this new resource linked to it. So it is a new website, and what it will have is everything new that we're learning about the platforms are going to go here. And I'll show this toolbar on the side. So you will see those principles of learning that we looked at this morning, about those. But most of you will probably want to visit to the SeeSaw group, and you will see how our sessions will grow to be archived. So today's sessions will pop into that spot, and it will be a video recording of this. Tomorrow's will be here, and you will see the other sessions growing as we develop on. So this is brand new for LKDSB teachers to access for that. So your blog user, the link will be there. So you've had an abundance of questions, and thank you so much for bringing those questions to us. It has been really helpful in finding out exactly what our audience needs.
Pam, can I just say something quickly?
Hi, Ben. How are you?
Hey, Pam. Hey, Carrie. Hey, everybody. Hope you're having a great day. I want to say thank you to our presenters. I think one of the strengths in our district is that we have our local folks supporting each other. Thank you so much for that. And I want to just say thank you to everybody for what they're doing to support our students during this time. It's a challenge. One of the challenges today was obviously fuse with our IT, and we appreciate your patience as we work through that. I will tell you, our 1,000-person room had a glitch and was only letting 100 people in, but in the back end, we got that resolved, so we apologize for that delay, but we will be archiving the session today online as well. So I want to say thank you. Have a great rest of the day, Pam. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Carrie. And thank you, Michelle and Sheila, for coming along. I felt like I talked a lot today, but tomorrow you guys are up a little bit more.
Yay.
But thank you so much to LKD.